I would have said, past tense, that BlackRock submitting meant guarantee, right? They're, 477 out of 478, right? They don't lose. So that makes me change my stance from 2 weeks ago where I was like, look, Gary isn't going to approve it no matter what, because the only reason he approved the Bitcoin was because the court literally forced him to, right? They basically put him in a situation where it was untenable for him to not approve.
Today's video is a clip from my interview with hedge fund manager and founder of Morgan Creek Capital, Mark Yusko. If you want to see the full interview, it's packed with price predictions, and Mark reveals what he thinks is the best exit strategy for crypto in 2024. If you want to check it out, it's the first link in the description. But without further ado, let's jump in with Mark Yusko. Now, we had BlackRock and we have a bunch of Ethereum ETFs. We have the final deadline coming up in May. 2 questions around Ethereum. Do you think we get approval in May? Does BlackRock applying for giving an application to the SEC, does that make it a certainty in your eyes? And secondly, do you ever think we see a flippening? Do you ever think Ethereum takes that #1 spot, or is Bitcoin forever cemented as the #1 top dog?
So again, 2 really good questions. So I would have said, past tense, that BlackRock submitting meant guarantee, right? They're, 477 out of 478, right? They don't lose. So that makes me change my stance from 2 weeks ago where I was like, look, Gary isn't going to approve it no matter what, because the only reason he approved the Bitcoin was because the court literally forced him to, right? They basically put him in a situation where it was untenable for him to not approve. So I also think Ethereum has some very strong allies in the traditional world. And, the whole consensus crowd is very tied into, the whole BlackRock crowd. So I would say that increases the likelihood. I'm still not going to say it's much better than a 50-50, but it's not a 0 like I thought it was a couple weeks ago. On the flippening, I don't think so. And here's why. So they're different use cases and different market opportunities. So, the TAM, the total addressable market, is very different. So if we break them into, Bitcoin is a true peer-to-peer electronic currency, right? Digital currency. It allows you and I to exchange value directly with no intermediary. And it's a great store of value, and it's essentially digital gold. So if it replaces gold, as I believe it will, for most of the base layer of money, that's a $5-6 trillion market cap, and that it begins the assault on all money, all fiat. And, Murray Stahl will make the case that that's inevitably going to happen. He has this great theory on, the reverse Gresham's law. Normally, bad money crowds out good, and you see that in every, third world country in the world. But he says that was because we didn't have perfect money. Now that we have perfect money, Bitcoin, it will eventually crowd out all bad money. And I think he's probably right on a long enough time horizon. But in a long enough time horizon, we're all dead. So I'm not sure I'll see that. But I do think that the likelihood of Ethereum, which is more of a global compute, I don't think it has a case to be money. So I don't think it's ever going to get a big share of that digital gold market. Like some central banks have some silver and some platinum in addition to gold, but not much to care about. So people who say Ethereum's like silver, maybe, but not really. So I think Ethereum exists more as a building block network on which other things will be built, and then how it generates revenues and fees. Gas fees are super high. There was a great quote before yesterday's outage that if Ethereum was created today, would anyone use it over Solana? And you think about that, as I say, good question. And based on functionality and speed and price, say no. But if you said, well, but I like my networks to be up and not to be able to be turned off, and I'd probably use Ethereum over Solana. So I don't think there's been an Ethereum killer that's actually worked. EOS was going to be that. Well, that was a disaster. And, Solana was going to be that. Avalanche was going to be that. There have been a lot of Ethereum killers that never killed it. So I think Ethereum has a role. For me, it comes down to, I can't answer. I have 3 mental models. One is Web 2. So Web 1, Web 2 are based on 5 protocols: TCP/IP at the base, FTP for files, SMTP for email, S for websites, and www that ties it all together. So in that model, Bitcoin, clearly the base layer. Filecoin, arguably like FTP. Ethereum, arguably like www. Who's SMTP, HTTPS, Cosmos, Polygon, Avalanche, Solana? Not really. It doesn't mesh perfectly, so maybe that's not right. The Lord of the Rings, one chain to rule all chains, only Bitcoin, Lightning, no. L3, L4, maybe. I mean, I can make an argument that every asset of high value in the world will eventually settle onto Bitcoin. That makes perfect sense to me, because why wouldn't I want to be on the most secure, safest, most powerful chain? Clearly I would. If I owned the Mona Lisa, I would want it on chain on Bitcoin. So then there's the third world, the third mental model of a bunch of L1s, Ethereum, Solana, etc. And these bridges, they don't work. Right? The bridges have too much attack surface and too many vulnerabilities. So until you get Chainlink is like, no, we're great. Okay, great-ish, maybe. Algorand, we're great-ish. So until you get chains that are not vulnerable, I don't know that you can have the grid. So I'm not like a techie, like I'm not a coder, I'm a financial services guy. So that's how I think about the world. And in that world, Bitcoin is king. Ethereum is the crown prince. And then there's all the other princes that hate each other. And most of those go away, right? They literally do. I mean, most utility tokens have no utility, so they should die and will die. It's like pre-seed venture. 96, 97% die. The ones that don't die, you make a lot of money. A lot. Meme coins, I have no time for them. People want to punt around in them, great. But it's a Ponzi scheme. And no, it's a Ponzi scheme. But if you don't get out before the others and you're left holding the bag, you lose. So, but as long as you got celebrities telling people to buy stuff, number will go up. But think about why. I mean, where is the utility in Dogecoin? Oh, but Elon's going to make it a payment. Fine. When he does that, if he does that, talk to me. But until then, it's a Ponzi scheme. And that's fine. Plenty of small cap stock Ponzi schemes. I mean, I remember there was one, these guys called me up. It was a stock called Cobalt Blockchain. All right, tell me about it. Well, we're going to work to secure the provenance of cobalt using blockchain, right? It's actually not a bad idea. No, if it's through a conflict zone, fine. How much cobalt do you have? Oh, we don't have any. I'm like, well, what are you doing? Well, we're going to do a reverse merger into this gold mining company, then we're going to DRC. I'm like, shot. You looked at the two highest search terms on Google, cobalt and blockchain, and you made up a company to fleece people. And they raised like $6 million and it went to zero. So that's existed since the dawn of time. And so plenty of those are shitcoin. There are plenty of those. Solana's not a shitcoin. Now, you may not like it. Polygon's not a shitcoin. I mean, you may not like it if you're a maxi, but they're not Ponzi's, right? They're trying to build tech, right? Cardano's trying to build tech. XRP theoretically is trying to build tech. I don't know about that one, but there's a huge difference between that and names I won't even say on air, right? That are just trying to get people to buy them, and so someone else can get out. Fine, but that exists in stock markets. It exists in bond markets. It exists all over the world in collectibles markets. I mean, there are plenty of people who bought Beanie Babies thinking they were going to go up and they were going to sell them, right? I own a bunch of Pokemon cards that my son always tells me, "Oh, Dad, this one's worth." I'm like, it's only worth it if I can actually find someone to buy it. But he and I have fun playing Pokemon, and that's worth something.